Hello everyone. My name is Odie Hawkins. That's Zola Salena-Hawkins behind the camera. And it's Tuesday afternoon, and I'm about to make up for something that I haven't done, that I should have done maybe last year. But anyway, let's get started, and I'll explain as we go. This is the Berimbau. This is one of the premier instruments in the Capoeira ensemble. The Berimbau, the go-go, the drum, the atabaque, and the pandeiro. This is the Berimbau. Sounds like this. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, Berimbau. I really apologize to you. I know I haven't been close to you in a while, and I have no excuses to make, but please, don't let me down, okay? Okay. I thought I'd say that too. Berimbau can be very temperamental.
Gotcha.
This is the kashishi. This is the palo, the stick. This is the dobro. I guess it's like a plectrum of a guitar. And this is the kabasha that resonates the sound. I'm saying this for all the people who may not know anything about the Berimbau. And believe it or not, the string on this stick, the stick comes from Brazil. It's called berimbau. It'll bend like black people. It'll bend a lot, but it won't break. And different rhythms and different rhythms denote different things. When this was illegal in Brazil, that was a rhythm that would announce that the police were coming. Of course, they're coming slowly at first. Oh, too late. Okay, having given a shout out to the Berimbau, I think I can do the same thing to the men who have been with me and helped me on my capoeira journey. I started studying capoeira, became a member of the capoeira family in LA in 1978 or something like that, along with my friend Cedric Adams, who introduced me to the man who became our teacher, Henrique Christovao de Nascimento. Hey, Henrique, wherever you are. Was my first teacher, well, our first teacher in capoeira for a number of years. And if he showed up right now, he would still have something to teach me, to teach us. I was later able to move up to Oakland and study with Capoeira Angola, two styles of capoeira, Capoeira Regional and Capoeira Angola. I started off with Henrique studying Capoeira Regional. Very quick, very athletic, very gymnastic. And then moving to Oakland, I started studying with the Mestre, Themba Mashama. Hey Themba, what's happening? We belonged to the small house in Oakland. The big house was in Bahia, and the Mestre there was Mestre Trindade Moraes. So, Moraes was our patron, I guess, and he visited often enough to let us know that he was indeed the Mestre. Now then, as they are saying too frequently these days, having said that, I'd like to get into today's reading. Before I get into today's reading, interestingly enough, it's about capoeira. I'm calling it a personal journey. Before getting into that, I'd like to alert whoever's interested. I would like to alert you to the idea, to the knowledge that there's a beautiful book out called C is for Capoeira. C is for Capoeira. The book was put together, edited, organized, and all the rest by Manuel Abolada Henry and Dr. Randall Henry. The illustrations are by Keith Aura, and I'll just simply show you a few of the beautiful drawings. It's a beautifully illustrated book, and it's designed for children. What I was told is that this couple had decided they want to have their children study an African-Brazilian martial art called capoeira. So that's what they did. And while they were about it, they put this beautiful book together. The ABCs of capoeira. Capoeira is a very simple but very complex African-Brazilian martial art. But for those who are interested, I would say run out as fast as you can and buy C is for Capoeira. The brother did, look at that.
That's beautiful.
The brother was very generous and kind to me and asked, page after page, the artwork alone is worth having. As you can see, it has some Afrocentric elements, and then there's the basics of capoeira. The brother was generous enough to say to me, would you do a little background something? And I did. I'm joined by Guru Dan Inosanto of the Inosanto Academy of Martial Arts, who says C is for capoeira. Not only promotes the martial art, it promotes an appreciation for the cultures, philosophies, people and countries where capoeira originated. Mestre Batata, the Capoeira Besoura of Capoeira Besoura, says, C is for capoeira is a very special tool for the capoeira community. The artwork is amazing, beautiful, and magical. It gave me goosebumps. A kid can look at the book and enjoy it. The words, numbers, and pronunciation guide can help the teachers and the students. It's full of useful information. C is for capoeira has something for everyone, from children to adults. And coming from yours truly, this is not simply a beautiful book artistically, but an important book that will bring more people into the heart of this wonderful martial art. Wonderful martial art. The book righteously deserves all of the praise I can give it. The artwork is superb, the explanation of the movements are precise, coherent. For those of us who did not grow up speaking capoeira Portuguese, but learned the songs and instruments by practice, baby practice, the book is a treasure house. Now, before I start the reading of a piece that I wrote about capoeira some time ago, I'd like to open up with a couple of songs, which only seem fitting for capoeira. The first one is a song I learned from a brother named Steve. Zola, would you like to give me a little chorus background here? Can we do that?
I certainly will try.
Eu não sou daqui,
Marinheiro sou,
Ei, Natinho, amor.
marinheiro sou,
Eu sou da Bahia,
marinheiro sou,
de São Salvador.
marinheiro sou,
Ô marinheiro, marinheiro,
marinheiro sou,
quem foi te ensinou a nadar?
marinheiro
Ou
sou,
foi a tambo do navio?
marinheiro
Ou
sou,
foi a balanço do mar?
marinheiro sou,
Lá vem,
marinheiro sou,
é bem, meu amor.
marinheiro sou,
Azul e branco,
marinheiro sou,
de São Salvador.
marinheiro sou.
Okay, that was successful. Let's try another one. This has come from the place called Luanda, and I think it's Angola.
You'll have to help me with this one, though. Okay, all right.
Hey Luanda, hey bande. Hey Luanda, hey para. O Teresa canta sentada, o Delila canta de pé. On the docks of Bahia, nothing yo-yo ne ya-ya. Hela ila ila,
Oh, lele,
hela ila ila,
oh, lele,
hela ila ila,
oh, lele,
hela ila ila.
oh, lele,
Olele de Gigi oro marinheiro. Olele de Gigi oro marinheiro. Samba no mar marinheiro. Samba no mar marinheiro. Samba no mar estrangeiro. Oh, sim, 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 oh, não, não, não. Oh, sim, 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 oh, não, não, não. Oh, sim, 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 oh, não, não, não.
Oh, sim, 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 oh, não, não, não.
Oh, não, sim, não. Oh, não, sim, não.
Oh, sim, 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 oh, não, não, não.
Oh, não, não, não. Oh, sim, sim, sim.
Oh, sim, 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 oh, não, não, não.
Oh, wait a minute. We only said 2 songs, and now we off into.
Yeah, there you go.
Here's the piece that I wrote. I'm calling it. I promised myself that last year I would start off 2023 reading short pieces and not try to read whole books again. But, sometimes the muse will grab you. And have you seen my cup?
I like your cup.
This cup comes from you.
Yes, I did. I get that cup for you.
Matter of fact, I think I even have an auxiliary cup in
Yes,
case
you
of
do.
breaks.
Yes, indeed. Casi.
But don't worry, I won't break it.
Capoeira. Well, it's so
Unless something snatches out
out
of
of
my
your
hand.
hands. There you go. We never know. Not intentionally broken, for sure.
I'll set that right there.
Mm-hmm.
Capoeira, a personal journey.
Okay.
I don't recall hearing or knowing anything about the African Brazilian martial art called Capoeira until I saw Black Orpheus, a Brazilian film made by a Frenchman based on a Greek myth in the favelas, the hillside slums of Rio de Janeiro. Some of us saw Black Orpheus as a porgy and best Brazilian style, but let's kick that to the curb for a moment. Remember the scene in the film where the underworld bad guy has a brief struggle with Orpheus, the hero. It makes an interesting move before Orpheus whips his shank out and chases him away. A bunch of us sat around discussing the film before, during, and after the screening. What kind of dance was the underworld baddie doing? Damn if I know, but it was real smooth, wasn't it? I'm not confessing to anything, but I think most of us spent more time thinking about how fine my Pesadon, Eurydice, an ancient Halle Berry, was than we did about the film itself. Years later, I discovered the underworld baddie, appropriately costumed in a skeleton drag, had formed a capoeira movement called Au. But all this is taking us a jingle ahead of ourselves. We have to do a little Sankofa. look back to see ahead. Wise all looks over the left shoulder. Before we get to the present, as most of us already know, Brazil has the largest concentration of black people in the world, after Nigeria. But that wouldn't be apparent from glancing at Brazil's representative to the UN or Brazil's ambassadors around the world, or the latest president. At the time that I wrote this, the president was Fernando Henrique Cardoso. They still have a white guy in charge, President Lula. They are members of the ruling class, meaning that they're brown, white. This apartheid set of circumstances formed the foundation for capoeira, a unique form of self-defense that is originally Brazilian, but has rapidly become one of the most popular African-based martial arts in the United States. What is capoeira? Aside from being a special way to fight, capoeira is a mindset for survival, a dance, a sport in the hippest sense of the word, a festival with religious connections. Many who play capoeira also practice candomblé, a social event, but above all, a beautifully choreographed symbol of freedom. Once again, let's do the Sankofa. In 1500, the Portuguese, working on the side of the New World they had been granted by papal decree, the Spanish were given carte blanche to rip off the other side, invaded Brazil. The Pope did that. You are granted the rights of everything on this side of the line, and you are granted the rights on the other side of the line. The Pope did that, whatever his name was. As was usually the case in those days, they immediately set about the business of abusing and enslaving the indigenous populations. The Indians, knowing the tropical forests of their homeland better than any invader would ever know it, escaped chattel slavery, chattel bondage, by slipping deeper into the background. Well, some did anyway. They were never forgiven their unwillingness to serve, and according to the latest documentation, yesterday's news, they are still prime targets for manslaughter. Further documentation indicates that the reasons Brazilian Indians are being decimated have changed. They are now standing in the way of gold mining and logging interests. Progress.
Oh my.
Unable to capture and enslave Native Americans on a grand scale, the Portuguese turned to the African continent for its plantation labor force. As slaves, the Africans were equitably distributed, the largest percentage going to Rio de Janeiro. The Africans, Yoruba, Ewe, Ibu, Fanti, Ashanti, Hausa, Fulani, Bantu, others, in this new setting, adapted and refined martial arts techniques already known to them, most of them utilizing elements that are common to all martial arts. In addition, they developed specific philosophical frames of reference based in African spiritual practices that offer them another kind of strength in their fight against oppression. Note, because of the secrecy within which capoeira was developed, it is impossible to point to any specific moment as the beginning of its use. Capoeiristas often remark that it seems that only people of color have developed weaponless combat. When the white guys came out of the northern caves, they were packing .45 automatics and AR-15s. In any case, capoeira was used. It was used in slave rebellions and in defense of the quilombos, those conclaves of African escapees from slavery in northeastern Brazil and elsewhere. The importance of the quilombos is underlined by the fact that the Portuguese were forced to deal with the escapees as sovereign people in their own states. Obviously, a major league self-defense system had been developed in the so-called New World. One of the best documented uses of capoeira was in defense of the quilombo of Palmares, in what is now the state of Alagoas. The Portuguese and their allies, the Dutch and the English, recorded numerous attempts to crush palmares over a 100-year span from 1600 to 1700. The written records once rested in colonial archives. The oral record is a part of Brazilian capoeira history. The Brazilian slave owners, unlike the slave owners in this country, burned their records up so they wouldn't have to pay compensation. And, well, the rest is history. This is the first time in American history, North or South, that a state was defended by practitioners of an indigenously cultivated martial art. Because the Palmares defense was handled largely by people of Bantu origin, Angola, Congo, capoeira was initially called Angola. During this time frame, capoeira was widespread, although clandestinely, in the quilombos of Bahia, Rio de Janeiro, Pernambuco, Mato Grosso, Minas Gerais, Pará, Sao Paulo, Alagoas, and Sergipe. In order to maintain its potency, Capoeira Angola was disguised to appear as some sort of African dance game activity, amusing to the Portuguese slave owners who did not suspect that they were looking at a martial art. I can just see it right now. This was possible because capoeira looked like a dance. Many of the kicks performed while the capoeirista has his or her weight on their hands. The art of capoeira, as distinguished from the martial arts side only, continued to evolve during this colonial period, and in the 19th century was granted the distinction of being identified as an African cultural element. With dance form movements, the ginga, specific definitions and characteristic songs that dealt with life and specifically identified location, like Rwanda. By then, capoeira also had a definitive musical tradition that uses the berimbau as its centerpiece. The berimbau is a melodic percussive instrument shaped like an Indian bow with a metal string. We discovered that taking the metal out of the tires that have metal string inside.
Yeah, the tires. Yeah.
It all depends on the gauge. If the gauge is too thick, the sound will sound not too good. In addition, you have to have the perfect marriage of the right stick with the right metal string, otherwise they won't get along together.
Oh my.
Gorgs of different tonal sizes are fitted onto the bow and the string to alter the musical qualities of the instrument. A metal disc or coin held by the hand, I can't find it. Don't worry about it. Created an extraordinary number of tonalities that find a voice through the gorg, which at the same time is rhythmically tapped against the stomach, the chest, or
maybe not.
Here. This is a washer from a refrigerator, I think.
Okay, let me see it again.
And this is a Chinese cooking chopstick.
Right.
I like it because it's made out of bamboo.
There it is.
I see it.
I see you too. Okay, thank you.
It called, in the old days, it was called a dombrão because it was made out of a Portuguese coin. A metal disc or coin is held by the hand that supports the bow and acts as a plectrum. The other hand holds a baton-like stick and a dome-shaped container of pebbles called a cachiche. The cachiche hand strokes the metal bowstring, creating an extraordinary number of tonalities that find a voice through the gorg which at the same time is rhythmically tapped against the stomach, chest, and head. They give one lots to do, but the total effect can be hypnotic.
Yes.
The Berimbau is also taught to be used as a form of communication with more mysterious planes of experience. In other words, it can take you out there.
Yes.
Capoeiristas always salute the Berimbau before they begin to dance to its rhythms.
Mm-hmm.
Onward, glancing backwards. Sankofa. Mm-hmm. In 1822, Brazil freed itself from Portugal, but remained mama's baby economically, mentally, and culturally. The emancipation of Africans in Brazil in 1888 parallels America's treatment of its emancipated Africans, resulting in a marginalization that guaranteed the ex-slaves a subordinate place in the socio-economic order. Dig what I'm saying? Y'all used to be slaves, and you're not slaves anymore, but you're damn sure going to be treated like slaves if we have anything to do with it. Mm. The line that differentiates between the North American African and the Brazilian African has to do with numbers. Brazilian Africans constitute roughly 70% of the population. Mm. I don't care what they say. Mm. 1/4, 1/3, or quadroon, octoroon, black people. Mm-hmm. Racial designations that indicate someone as a quadroon rather than an octoroon serve as a code. The code implying, as it does in the U.S., that anyone with African ancestry is considered inferior unless they have money. The great soccer player Pelé was considered white by many Brazilians. Dark-skinned man, believe me. The Africans of Brazil, like the Africans in South Africa, even now, are a majority dominated economically by a minority. The inequities are as blatantly racist as the South African version, but with a Latin twist. In Brazil, the subordination of ex-slaves was accentuated by an immigration policy established at the end of the 19th century, offering favored people status to Europeans. Plus, as a continuing part of national policy, the government of Getúlio Vargas, under Decree 7967, 1945, excluded the immigration of human beings of the black race. This attitude is partially explained why Brazil, with a population that is 3/4 colored, has frequently been guilty of not voting in the UN and other international forums for the human rights of third world people, its own people. Mm-hmm. In 1920, the first Capoeira academies were founded that the Mestres Pastina, Gato, Canjiquinha, and Themba became heroic figures in Capoeira history. Mm-hmm. Manuel dos Reis Machado, Mestre Themba, deserves special notice. Mestre Themba, using Capoeira Angola as a point of reference, developed a new style called Capoeira Regional. In 1937, he established the Center of Physical Culture and of Capoeira Regional. Capoeira Regional differs from Capoeira Angola basically in that it is more eclectic, it contains more techniques, it's played higher from the ground, and uses a more scientific approach in its training methods. Mm-hmm. The two styles are like two hands belonging to the same body, one reaching into the future, the other holding on to all that the past has meant. Since 1970, the Brazilian Boxing Commission has designated specific regulations for capoeira championships and academies seeking to bring capoeira into the so-called mainstream. In this manner, the controlling forces in Brazilian society attempts to folkloricize capoeira, reducing it to a popular custom, the dregs of a mummified tradition. In response to this racist strategy, capoeira has developed new patterns of secrecy to protect its integrity. Today, capoeira is practiced in New York, Los Angeles, and many other places in between. Now then, having said all that, how in the world did I get into the haw-da? This is the place where the capoeiristas play. Say, man, this brother just got here from Brazil. He's doing this class in Echo Power. Cedric Adams, a Hapkido Shotokan man, and one of the most talented artists in the world, turned me on to Henrique Christovao de Nascimento's Capoeira class. Henrique's father was Abdias do Nascimento, frequently called the Malcolm X of Brazil for his pro-African, pro-human rights activities. His mother was Leia Garcia, the woman in the hills that Eurydice was going to visit in Black Orpheus, a famous actress before we discovered her in that film. If I ever had to do a martial arts resume, it would go something like this. Chicago, South Side, street struggling from the get. Street struggling, we call it, street struggling. Hapkido, Master Young Bai Lee, Master Wang Chan Lee, 1971 to 72. Taekwondo, Master Young Kyo Kim, Raymond da Silva, 72 to 77. Capoeira, Henrique do Nascimento, Themba and Mashama, Master Moraes, O Grupo Capoeira Angola Peregrino, 1978 till now. I'm in for the rest of my life. I can't give it up even though my hip gave it up. I can't give it up. I went into Hapkido because I was gestured into a little makeshift dojang by an elfin Korean master named Lee. You come, work. I, with 10 others, was sold by Master Lee to Master Yang Kyo Kim's Taekwondo dojang. We went to him because we were told to go. After a certain number of Hapkido lessons, one has a tendency to do what one is told. Master Lee's business had bellied up. I spent 6 years gliding up and down the floors of Master Kim dojang, kicking, punching, become a black belt in a Taekwondo. Master Kim didn't give black belts to children or adults who didn't understand that Taekwondo, hand and foot way, was more than a martial art. After a 6-month holiday in Alicante, Spain, nourished on ebullient cherries and the bullfight, I returned to march up and down the dojang floor. Till that strange afternoon, I felt that I was doing something that had nothing to do with me. I peeled out of formation, bound to all the proper people and places, and drove to Trader Joe's for a couple of bottles of Beaujolais Village. Maybe I was in suspended martial arts animation till Cedric told me about the capoeira class. I gravitated to it, bringing a lot of heart and no expectations. Our classes were outside. Outside! On a terraced area in Upper Echo Park. It could have been an affluent favela with faxes and VCRs. Hapkido and Taekwondo had been duties, tortures really. Master Kim used to joke all the time. Everybody like Korean torture? He actually said that.
Wow.
Capoeira from the first moment, the jingo was seductive, graceful, rhythmic. And he was a wonderful teacher, patient, resourceful, blessed with philosophical insights about his art. It was easy to see it would be possible to play capoeira with anyone after receiving his instructions. Capoeiristas play even though they're fighting. Despite what seemed to be a contradiction, it works. Maybe it could be compared to boxing with a living shadow that is not being 100% cooperative. The three of us created a haw-da, the circles that capoeiristas play in, back there in Upper Echo Park, during those subtle afternoons when only the rhythms of the Berimbau, the pandeiro, the agogo, and the shekere made sense. We had what would have to be called spiritual experiences. I saw it happen with Cedric. His eyes would glaze over and his movements would become so fluid, it seemed that his body had become rubberized. Henrique was a signature in motion, a stylist who held himself in reserve so that we never really knew how much he had left. I saw him as a species of Berimbau when I wasn't playing with him, a slender stick of wood, delicate in extraction, but tough and resilient. Henrique introduced us to the various moods of the rhythms. Remember, capoeira is played with vocal and instrumental music. Those sentinels of the game that take hold of the creative juices that allow a dream play to happen, that make you ask yourself, did I do that? Capoeira wasn't like Hapkido or Taekwondo for me. The Berimbau's echoing messages, the pandero's insistent chant, the agogo's insistent rhythms make the difference. Play your own game, but feel what I'm doing or what I might do. Henrique gave us that advice, and I found that it works in areas that have nothing to do with capoeira. Capoeira, when done as a sport rather than a knockdown, beer-bellied fight, is commonly known as jogo de capoeira, capoeira game. The players pledge to respect certain basic rules. Respect for the master of the haw-da, the person who controls the action happening in the circle. Respect for rhythms of the berimbau. If the berimbau plays slow, that's what it means. Respect for the haw-da, the circle that contains the action. There are many points of etiquette here. Malicia, trickiness, slyness, game can be run, but there must be a way to get to it without being sadistic. It takes a long time to develop a proper sense of malicia. Some people never do. Only 2 players should play at one time. No tag team stuff here. Each individual gets a chance to do his thing. The first 2 players must salute the berimbau. There are many forms of salutation. Some cross themselves in the Christian tradition. Others ask the assistance of the orisha. Although only 2 people can play at one time, capoeira is beyond anything else an extremely social activity that draws the community into a fraternal mode. The percussion accompaniment, the capoeira songs, and the intricate rhythms that are similar to those found in the Brazilian African religious communities, Umbanda, Macumba, Cantimba, Candomblé, create a sense of spirituality that is uniquely capoeira, like the samba, the healing dance. Because of the singing, something just grabbed me for a minute.
See?
Because of the singing, the instrumental foundation and the congeniality surrounding capoeira play, some people have a tendency to downplay the effectiveness of the art. Be careful, one of the songs warns us. Capoeira can kill. Capoeira mata capoeira mata Despite the immense pressures that were exerted to reduce capoeira's potency as a martial art and as a vital element of Brazilian African culture, it remains secure and powerful.
Yeah.
In the United States, from Gelon's New York to Henrique's California, capoeira's message of beauty, rhythm with power, and love of freedom is being heard and given a warm reception. Ashe.
Ashe.
So that's that small piece about capoeira. And I hope that some of my capoeira comrades will check it out. But above all, check C for Capoeira out. The little book. I'm advertising somebody else's book, but I think it's good enough to be advertised. And on that note, it's time for me to go.
Well, I should also mention that it was through Capoeira we met.
Oh.
Yes. You were teaching wrestle Capoeira.
Don't stop now.
Okay, and then you started teaching me Capoeira.
Is that the way it happened?
Kind of, yeah. And next thing I knew, I was all involved in Odie Hawkins' world.
She's shortcutting the story, but that's okay because suddenly she realized that I was making an effort to draw the whole story out. But that's okay. That is the way we met, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy I don't know what to do.
I'm so happy too. So there's many facets to Capoeira.
Hey,
Hey.
you know, It's a beautiful art. Hey.
It.
Yeah.
Yes.